There's a moment in every man's life when the noise fades and the truth hits. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's losing sleep over your pain. Nobody truly cares, not the way you hoped they would. It sounds harsh, but it's the most important realization you'll ever have. Because the moment you stop expecting the world to care, you finally start living on your own terms. Most people spend their lives waiting for sympathy, waiting for validation, waiting for someone to notice their effort, their suffering, their worth. But the Stoic learns the hard way. Life doesn't hand out applause. The world moves on, indifferent. And that indifference, that's your awakening. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." He wasn't trying to scare you. He was reminding you, the clock is ticking. You don't have time to wait for anyone's permission to rise. When you realize nobody cares, you stop performing. You stop explaining. You stop chasing understanding. And for the first time, you start doing things for you. That's the moment everything changes. Because when you finally accept that nobody's coming to rescue you, you become dangerous. You become self-reliant. You stop bleeding energy into pity and start channeling it into purpose. You stop expecting comfort and start embracing control. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." When you stop expecting care from others, you stop suffering twice. Once from pain and again from disappointment. You begin to understand that true strength is found in solitude. The moment you stop depending on the world's attention, your power returns. And that's the paradox. When you no longer need anyone to care, you become the kind of person people respect. Because you move differently. You're no longer begging to be seen. You're too busy building. You're no longer explaining your worth. You're living it. That's what Stoicism teaches. Stop waiting for the world to feel something for you and start mastering how you feel about the world. When you accept that life is indifferent, you stop taking everything personally. You stop letting rejection, judgment, or indifference define your worth. You begin to see it clearly. The world owes you nothing, but you owe yourself everything. It's not bitterness, it's clarity. It's the realization that peace begins the moment you stop needing others to care. Comment below this phrase to mark your awakening. I need nothing from anyone. I command myself. And if this message hits home, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and join the Stoic Brotherhood, where men stop seeking sympathy and start building sovereignty. The day you finally accept that nobody cares is the day you stop living like a victim and start living like a philosopher. Because hidden inside that cold truth is something divine: freedom. When you realize that nobody's watching, judging, or rescuing you, you're free to become whoever you want to be. You're free to fail without shame. You're free to rise without permission. You're free to live without pretending. The eyes of the world no longer weigh you down because they were never really looking. Most people think indifference is a curse. They hear nobody cares and feel emptiness. But the Stoic hears those same words and feels liberation. Because if nobody cares, then your mistakes don't define you. Your rejections don't destroy you. Your past doesn't imprison you. You can burn everything down and rebuild from nothing, and nobody will stop you. That's the true gift of indifference. When the world stops caring, you stop being afraid of it. Seneca said, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man." Replace death with judgment, and the message is the same. If you fear people's opinions, you'll never live authentically. But when you stop caring who notices your effort, you become unstoppable. Indifference is not apathy, it's clarity. It's knowing the difference between what you can control and what you never could. It's understanding that the applause of others is irrelevant, but your integrity is everything. When nobody cares, you're no longer performing. You stop needing to prove, to explain, to justify. You stop chasing approval and start chasing progress. You realize your only competition is yesterday's version of yourself. And something magical happens in that silence. You begin to hear your own voice again. The world's noise fades, and you remember what you actually want, what you actually value, what actually matters. The Stoics called this inner freedom ataraxia, a calm unshaken by external things. When you stop expecting the world to care, you stop being tossed around by its moods. You stop flinching when people withdraw affection or when life withdraws comfort. You realize everything is temporary except your character. That's why indifference, properly understood, is not cold. It's warm with self-trust. It's knowing that whether you are loved or ignored, praised or forgotten, you remain the same, stable, grounded, whole. Because the moment you realize nobody cares, you stop living to impress the world and start living to express your truth. Comment below this phrase to seal your freedom. Their indifference is my liberation. The Stoics never sugarcoated existence. They faced life exactly as it was, unpredictable, indifferent, and often cruel. They didn't expect fairness. They didn't beg for pity. They didn't rely on luck. They built themselves to stand strong within the storm, not to escape it. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but he still wrote to himself every night, reminding his mind to stay calm, to expect nothing, to rely on reason alone. When you wake up, he wrote, tell yourself, the people you deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and I have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own. He didn't waste time wishing people were better. He accepted their flaws and fortified himself instead. That's the Stoic reality. The world will be what it is. You can't control its chaos, but you can control your composure. Epictetus, born a slave, crippled and beaten, could have drowned in bitterness. But instead, he became one of history's greatest teachers. He said, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. That's the foundation of Stoic strength, self-command in the face of the uncontrollable. And Seneca, wealthy, powerful, envied, watched fortune and fame collapse around him. When Emperor Nero ordered his death, he didn't panic. He faced it calmly, saying, what need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. He understood something most people never will, that pain and loss are not interruptions of life, they are life. And once you accept that, nothing can truly break you. That's what Stoicism gives you, not false hope, but grounded strength. It strips away illusions. It tells you plainly, the world doesn't owe you kindness, comfort, or understanding. It owes you nothing, and that's why you owe yourself everything. You can't control who cares about you. You can't control who betrays you. But you can control the kind of man you become in response. You can meet injustice with integrity, chaos with calm, rejection with resolve. Because no one, not fate, not failure, not heartbreak, can touch your inner world unless you grant them access. The Stoic reality is simple. The world is indifferent. People are inconsistent. Fortune is unstable. But your mind, your judgment, your discipline, your principles, those are yours to command. And when you finally grasp that truth, you stop begging for mercy and start building resilience. You stop hoping for fairness and start preparing for battle. You stop needing people to care because you've learned to care for yourself through discipline, philosophy, and self-respect. That's not cynicism. That's enlightenment. It's not cold detachment, it's inner peace. Because once you see the world clearly, you can finally walk through it calmly. Comment below this phrase to embody Stoic reality. I expect nothing, and therefore I am free. Look around you. The modern world thrives on one addiction: validation. Everywhere you look, people are performing, posting, comparing, begging to be seen. The entire system is designed to keep you chasing approval from others, because the moment you stop caring what people think, you become uncontrollable. We live in a world that measures worth in numbers, followers, likes, views, comments. It tells you that visibility equals value, that if people don't applaud, you don't matter, that if no one notices your success, it's meaningless. But the Stoic knows the truth. Validation is a cage disguised as comfort. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." And in today's world, the hunger for attention is the new poverty. Men starve for approval. They shapeshift to be liked. They silence their truth to avoid judgment. They measure their lives by how others react, not by how they live. But validation is fleeting. The applause fades, the praise dies down, and what's left? The emptiness of a man who built his self-worth on the shifting winds of opinion. The Stoic refuses that life. He builds inward, quietly, privately, patiently, because what you build for the world's approval will crumble when the world turns away. But what you build for your own honor, that lasts forever. The illusion of validation is that it feels like love. It's not. It's dependency. It keeps you addicted to reaction, always needing the next fix of attention. That's why people post every meal, every thought, every victory, because silence terrifies them. But the Stoic isn't afraid of silence. He lives in it. He knows his worth whether or not the world claps. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions." So when you stop needing people to care, you reclaim your sanity. You realize that validation isn't love, it's manipulation. It's how society keeps you docile, obedient, predictable. But when you withdraw your need for it, when you no longer need the world's applause, something shifts. You become dangerous, not violent, not arrogant, independent. Because now your peace can't be bought, your emotions can't be triggered, and your purpose can't be hijacked. You start doing things quietly. You start moving strategically. You start living for alignment, not attention. And the irony? That's when people actually start respecting you. Because authenticity, real, calm, unbothered authenticity, is magnetic. It's rare in a world addicted to pretending. The Stoic doesn't need validation. He validates himself through discipline, through consistency, through mastery. He doesn't post his progress. He lives it. He doesn't seek attention. He earns respect in silence. So let the world chase applause. Let them dance for approval. You stay grounded. You stay unmoved. Because a man who no longer needs to be seen has already won. Comment this phrase below to affirm your independence. Their approval is irrelevant. My purpose is enough. At some point, you get tired of waiting for people to notice, to help, to care. That's the moment self-reliance begins. It isn't pride, it's clarity. It's the calm understanding that every ounce of progress you'll ever make will come from your own two hands. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Why? Because growth often means stepping away from the crowd. The Stoic learns early that the masses rarely applaud discipline, they applaud comfort. So he stops waiting for encouragement and becomes his own source of it. When you depend on others, your stability hangs on their moods. One compliment can lift you, one criticism can crush you. But when you depend on yourself, you become steady, unshaken by praise, untouched by insult. The Stoic man draws energy from within, like a well that never runs dry. Self-reliance doesn't mean isolation, it means sovereignty. You still love, still connect, still share, but you no longer need those things to define you. You appreciate them without depending on them. You give freely because your cup is full, not because you're desperate to be filled. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's the heart of self-reliance. Stop talking, start doing. Stop hoping, start building. No one's going to hand you the life you want. No one's going to rescue you from your own laziness or fear. The gods, the universe, fate, they respect effort. They meet the man who moves. There's power in knowing that your destiny is your responsibility. You can't control everything that happens, but you can control your discipline, your attitude, your preparation. The more you strengthen those things, the less life can take from you. And here's the truth most people hide from. Nobody is thinking about you as much as you think they are. The world moves on. People are busy with their own storms, so stop waiting for permission, pity, or applause. Stand up, face the mirror, and take accountability for every area of your life, your habits, your mindset, your peace. The Stoic doesn't complain about what he lacks. He works with what he has. He turns obstacles into training. Every hardship becomes a forge for his resilience. Every setback becomes a test of his discipline. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Try me." That's the transition from fragile to formidable, from dependent to dangerous. Because once you learn that everything you need is already within you, the world loses its hold on you. You become the source of your own motivation, your own peace, your own progress. That's real freedom. That's what the ancients meant by mastery of the self. Comment below this phrase to claim your strength. I depend on no one. I rely on myself. There's a point where emotions stop controlling you, where you stop being dragged by every insult, every rejection, every shift in someone else's mood. That point is called indifference. And in the Stoic world, indifference isn't weakness, it's evolution. Epictetus said, "It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." That's the foundation of power, because once you stop assigning emotional meaning to every event, the event itself loses power over you. The Stoic doesn't chase approval or run from criticism. He stands in the middle, unmoved. He knows that praise and blame come from the same unstable source, people's opinions. And opinions, like weather, change without reason. So he builds his peace where storms can't reach it, inside himself. Indifference is the art of conserving energy. Every reaction costs attention, and attention is your most precious resource. The man who reacts to everything ends up exhausted, scattered, powerless. The man who reacts to nothing keeps his strength concentrated, his focus sharp. That's why silence, restraint, and composure radiate power, because they imply discipline. Dark psychology calls this emotional opacity, the ability to remain unreadable even when provoked. It doesn't mean you feel nothing, it means you control what you show. That restraint unsettles people. They can't predict you, they can't manipulate you, and that unpredictability commands respect. In a world where everyone's triggered, the man who remains calm becomes magnetic. Indifference makes you rare, it makes you mysterious, it makes you unshakable. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily. He reminded himself that fame is fleeting, fortune unstable, and other people's approval irrelevant. What mattered was how he carried himself. how he met each moment with dignity, patience, and purpose. He didn't try to control perception, he controlled response. When you learn indifference, pain stops being personal. Betrayal becomes data. Failure becomes feedback. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What's next?" Because you finally understand that emotion is not truth, it's just weather passing through the mind. And here's the paradox. The less you care, the more effective you become. When you detach from outcomes, you act with clarity instead of desperation. You negotiate better. You lead better. You love better. You stop needing to win every argument, impress every crowd, or fix every person. You learn the sacred art of letting things be. The Stoic doesn't suppress emotion, he channels it. He takes anger and turns it into focus. He takes rejection and turns it into resolve. He takes pain and turns it into philosophy. That's indifference as a superpower, converting reaction into reason, emotion into elevation. And when you master that, the world starts to look different. You stop seeing enemies and start seeing lessons. You stop clinging to control and start moving with grace. You realize that peace isn't found in things going your way. It's found in not needing them to. Comment below this phrase to awaken your calm strength. Nothing moves me, I move myself. Pain has a way of showing you what you've been worshipping. Every time you suffer deeply, you're being shown an attachment, something you've placed above your peace. That's why suffering is the Stoic mirror. It reflects back the truth of what you've been giving power to. When you hurt because someone ignored you, the mirror reveals your hunger for validation. When you spiral after rejection, it shows your dependence on approval. When you rage at unfairness, it exposes your illusion of control. That's what pain does. It unmasks you. It removes the layers of ego you built around comfort and exposes the parts of yourself still enslaved to emotion. And the Stoic doesn't run from that reflection, he studies it. Because every emotional wound points toward a weakness of judgment, not of fate. Epictetus said, "When someone provokes you, remember that it is your opinion which provokes you." In other words, people don't truly hurt you, your interpretation does. You suffer not because of what happens, but because you decided it shouldn't have happened. That gap between expectation and reality is where pain breeds. So what does the Stoic do? He closes the gap. He aligns his expectations with truth. He stops demanding that people act right, that life be fair, that outcomes go his way. He simply says, "Let reality be reality." And in that acceptance, suffering loses its grip. The Stoic mirror is brutal. It shows you exactly where you're fragile, but that's a gift, because what's revealed can be repaired. If pain shows you your attachment to control, practice surrender. If it shows your attachment to approval, practice solitude. If it shows your attachment to comfort, practice discipline. That's how the Stoic grows, by using pain as feedback, not punishment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The mirror doesn't block you, it guides you. The very thing causing your suffering becomes your instruction. The person who triggers you is your teacher. The failure that breaks you is your refinement. The silence that scares you is your sanctuary. Most men avoid the mirror. They distract themselves with noise, with comfort, with denial. But the Stoic looks straight into it, calm, honest, unafraid. He'd rather confront the painful truth than live inside a beautiful lie. And when you finally look deeply enough, you realize something extraordinary. The reflection staring back at you is not your pain, it's your potential. The man in that mirror is who you become once you stop running from truth. Because pain doesn't change you, awareness does. Pain only opens the door. You're the one who decides whether to walk through it. Comment below this phrase to affirm your self-awareness. My pain reveals me. My awareness frees me. The Stoic doesn't view struggle as tragedy. He views it as training. Every hardship, every loss, every silent night where nobody checks on you, that's your gym. That's where the warrior mind is forged. See, most men think they need motivation. They wait to feel ready, to feel inspired, to feel supported. But the Stoic warrior doesn't wait for inspiration. He creates it through discipline. He doesn't need someone to push him. He pushes himself. He doesn't need comfort. He finds strength in discomfort. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing." He knew life isn't graceful. It's gritty. You're not meant to glide through it. You're meant to grapple with it. You're meant to fall, to get back up, to resist the pull of weakness every single day. The warrior mindset is born the moment you stop asking for life to be easy. You stop pleading for sympathy. You stop waiting for help. You realize that every trial is a test of endurance, a chance to prove to yourself that you can stand alone. And when you do, you discover something sacred. Solitude isn't punishment. It's power. The Stoic warrior trains himself to face pain with calm, to face chaos with order, to face fear with awareness. He knows that emotional storms will come, heartbreak, loss, betrayal, but he refuses to drown in them. He anchors himself in principle. That's the weapon. Not anger, not revenge, but control. Dark psychology calls it emotional dominance, the ability to remain composed when others unravel. But to the Stoic, it's simply virtue. It's the expression of discipline under pressure. It's the ability to stand firm when everything else shakes. You see, life will always try to drag you down to its level through temptation, distraction, or despair. But the warrior stays focused. He knows that pain is the weight that builds his strength. Every struggle is resistance training for the soul. Every lonely night is an invitation to sharpen the mind. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show what men are." Anyone can be calm when things are good, but only the disciplined can be calm when the world burns. That's the difference between a man who reacts and a man who reigns. The warrior mindset doesn't mean you're emotionless. It means your emotions obey you. You still feel pain, but you don't worship it. You still feel fear, but you don't feed it. You still feel doubt, but you don't surrender to it. And over time, something powerful happens. Pain becomes familiar. You stop fearing it. You even start to welcome it, because you know that pain is proof you're still alive, still evolving, still being refined by the fire. The Stoic warrior doesn't pray for the storm to pass. He stands in the rain, straight-backed, eyes forward, whispering to himself, "Let it come." Comment below this phrase to embody the warrior spirit. Pain trains me. Discipline defines me. The highest level of strength isn't loud. It's invisible. The real Stoic doesn't need to announce his growth, prove his peace, or display his discipline. He lives unseen, moves unbothered, and lets results whisper what words never could. In a world obsessed with performance, the unseen man becomes a paradox. Everyone else is chasing attention while he's mastering alignment. Everyone else is trying to look powerful while he's quietly becoming it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be indifferent to what makes no difference." That's the essence of the unbothered man. He simply refuses to care about noise that doesn't serve his mission. He's not cold, he's clear. He knows that reacting to every distraction is how warriors waste their energy, so he keeps his circle small, his habits sacred, and his focus locked on purpose. Living unseen is an act of rebellion in an age of exposure. You don't need to post your pain, your wins, or your progress. You don't need the world's applause to validate your journey. The Stoic path is quiet, not because it's easy, but because it's holy. Silence protects your growth while the world chases attention. Dark psychology calls this controlled ambiguity, the ability to stay unreadable. But to the Stoic, it's simply humility. You don't reveal every move. You don't justify your silence. You don't explain your calm. You act, observe, and adapt without announcing. You stop trying to prove that you're healing. You stop trying to convince anyone that you've changed. You just live differently, and people feel it. They sense the peace in your posture, the discipline in your eyes, the quiet certainty in your tone. That's the aura of a man who's no longer chasing validation. He's living in alignment with his nature. When you live unseen, you conserve energy. You protect your spirit from envy, from noise, from corruption. You stop comparing because you realize comparison is the thief of gratitude. You're not racing anyone anymore. You're refining yourself, quietly, steadily, relentlessly. And when you move unbothered, you reclaim your mind from the chaos of opinion. The insults roll off. The gossip dies in silence. The world tests you, and you don't flinch. Because your peace no longer depends on external behavior. It's built on internal order. You become the calm man in a frantic world, the eye of the storm. That kind of energy doesn't need attention. It commands respect without demanding it. The Stoic doesn't hide because he's afraid. He moves in silence because he's focused. His absence isn't retreat, it's refinement. He understands that real strength is self-contained. That solitude isn't loneliness, it's luxury. When you live unseen and move unbothered, you transcend the world's game. You stop chasing reactions. You stop explaining your path. You stop seeking recognition because you've already earned self-respect. Comment below this phrase to affirm your quiet power. I live unseen. I move unbothered. There comes a point when the noise fades, the illusions crumble, and all that's left is you. No applause, no pity, no validation, just the raw silence of reality and the man who has learned to stand inside it. That's the moment of rebirth. You've stopped expecting people to care, and instead you've learned to command yourself. You've stopped chasing attention and started chasing alignment. You've stopped demanding fairness and started mastering focus. This is the Stoic transformation, not a change of appearance, but a change of awareness. You've realized that life owes you nothing, and yet gives you everything when you meet it with discipline. You've realized that loneliness was never punishment, it was preparation. You've realized that pain wasn't the end, it was your initiation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And that's exactly what you've begun to do. You no longer preach calm, you embody it. You no longer speak of detachment, you live it. You no longer seek wisdom, you practice it. The old version of you sought to be understood. The new version of you no longer explains. The old you needed approval. The new you builds in silence. The old you feared being unseen. The new you knows that the unseen roots grow the strongest trees. That's what Stoicism does. It strips away the false until all that remains is truth. And the truth is simple. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody owes you care. Nobody owes you closure. But you owe yourself mastery. Mastery of thought, of emotion, of conduct. You now understand that freedom isn't found in comfort, it's found in control. That peace isn't the absence of struggle, it's the discipline to remain still within it. And that love, respect, and loyalty mean nothing when they come from others before they come from you. This is your rebirth. The calm after collapse, the silence after chaos, the strength after suffering. You've stopped waiting for care, and started becoming the caretaker of your own soul. You've stopped chasing meaning and started creating it. You've stopped being reactive to life and started responding like a man who owns himself. You are no longer the one who pleads. You're the one who prepares. No longer the one who breaks, but the one who builds. No longer the one who fears solitude, but the one who thrives in it. This is what it means to walk the Stoic path, to carry peace where others carry pain, to lead yourself where others need direction, to become so complete within that the world's indifference no longer offends you. It only reminds you how far you've come. You've seen the truth, and you didn't run. You faced it, accepted it, mastered it, and in doing so, you became untouchable. Comment below this phrase to seal your Stoic rebirth. I no longer seek, I am. And if this message resonated with your soul, make sure to like this video, comment your awakening, and subscribe to join the Stoic Brotherhood, a movement of men mastering silence, discipline, and self-command. Thank you for watching, and remember, when you realize nobody cares, everything changes, because that's when you finally do.